Ah, glorious battle. Hey, coaches, how are the cattle doing?
It's a little bit of good news and a little bit of bad news. The good news is that we've already knocked out 7 other teams in the tournament. But the bad news is they've taken 8 games off of us. So, yeah, it's not too good. Also, AOE Ginger Turmeric are still in the upper bracket. Cloud9 Academy is up against them next.
Well, I deal with these rambunctious critters out in the wilds a lot, alright? I think everything's gonna be okay. I wonder what they're doing over there.
Woo! We got a win! Let's go! Ginger Turmeric, they're the best!
Why are you celebrating? We've already lost 7 of our teams from this tournament. And didn't you predict that AM would get 10 wins over Academy teams?
Yeah, and they're already up to 8 wins in the first 2 weeks. They're doing so great. I wonder what Kungus would do if he could see them now.
I don't know, probably make some content or something. Wait, is that Pyra?
News from the front! News from the front!
Wait a minute. This is Kungus's content itinerary. It says he was making content for both Academy and Amateur. What does it mean?
I gotta go. Academy needs this too.
What if we did power rankings? Stupid. What is that over there?
Whoa! News from the front.
Wait, but this says that Kungus was working on both Academy and Amateur content.
But Magical said, that son of a gun!
Hello and welcome everybody to week 3 of Proving Grounds coverage. I am your host for the day. You can call me Kangas, and joining me, I have Beatdown Boulevard, the artist known as. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow, I guess I can call myself that now, can I?
Once you make one song for Proving Grounds.
I'm an artist. Oh my
okay,
God.
you're an artist at that point.
Wow, look at me.
Also joining us, just your average everyday Joe, Med Magical.
I did a song too. I should be an artist. You know what? And speaking of art,
Oh wait, you did a song. I thought that was Desirix. I thought Desirix made us a song.
It's okay. You know what? I actually went and got tattoos in preparation for today too, but
What?
I messed up. So it's supposed to be Meme Lord, but you know I put them on the wrong hands. So if I do this, then it's Meme Lord. But you know how it's normally it's wrong.
Alex, if you do it this way, though, it actually looks really cool. So you could just play that off as intentional.
Yeah, there
I
we go.
kinda like it more, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was on purpose. Yeah.
And if you do
Yeah,
it
good
this
man.
way, it's
Yeah.
even more of a meme. So that's
Oh,
perfect.
it's just, dude, it's perfect.
If this is any indication of how the broadcast is going to go today, we're in for a wild ride, everybody. So let's remind everybody what we're even here watching. This is Proving Grounds, the culmination of all of Tier 2 North American League of Legends. That means Academy and Amateur teams are competing against each other. They played out their summer splits, Academy regular season, Amateur circuit qualifiers, and now the top 10 from each are battling out here in Proving Grounds. 3 Amateur teams remain with 9 Academy teams. Let's take a look at the upper bracket, and Magical, I'll have you walk us through the upper bracket. Catch everybody up on the storyline so far.
Well, if you weren't paying attention last week, we did have one big upset after another when it came to AOE Ginger Turmeric. This is our only amateur team that is in the upper bracket still. And when you look back, the last split in spring, there was no team from amateur that even made it this far. And we have 3 teams that when we get to the lower bracket that we can focus on as well. But the fact is, AOE Ginger Turmeric have guaranteed themselves to play in the best of 5s, regardless win or lose against Cloud9.
Fantastic run from AOE Ginger Turmeric, taking out 100 Thieves Academy, the number 2 seed coming in from Academy in that round 1, and then also going through Immortals Progressive, ending their easy run, as it were, kind of expected going into that round in the upper bracket. Now take a look at the lower bracket, though, Beatdown, and catch everybody up on what happened in round 1 of the lower bracket, and also maybe some of the surprises.
So I think most of what we saw in the lower bracket is kind of expected here. A lot of Academy teams doing well against Amateur, but the one surprise is there right at the top of L1, Area of Effect Esports. The team we're going to watch today as they go up against CLGA have knocked out Golden Guardians. And that was a big game for them, even though Golden Guardians had roster shuffles, even though they were the 10th place team in Academy Summer. It's still a big deal overall. Even talking to the coach of AOE, even though they said it was the 10th seed, they did expect to win. It is still a good feeling for them to get that first blood on knocking out Academy and being able to face CLGA.
And they did it in the most amateur fashion for the teams coming in from that side. You know, crazy picks. Across the board, it feels like Academy teams have not been as prepared for the meta as a lot of the amateur teams going into it. And I think that's always really fun to see that storyline, because obviously there's a lot more interest, I think, in general in Academy this split, especially with Danny, Jojo Pian having such success in LCS in the spring. But now we also get to see some of these hungry amateur players coming in. They're not signed to an org. They don't have all this funding, all this backing. They're like, hey, I'm so good at the game, so I'm just going to show up and do it anyway.
Hey, that's the point of the Proving Grounds, right? The point is for a lot of these amateur players to kind of get themselves some notoriety to their name. So teams go, hey, why don't we sign this guy going into Academy next season? This guy could be an up-and-coming player. We look at Sniper as being one of those players, very young talent that a lot of people have their eyes on.
And it's even true that there are players who have been in Academy who have now gone down to Amateur who are trying to make their way back in. So even for some who are doing this for the first time, there are others who are trying to get themselves back up to the level they were once at.
And we'll talk about those players a little bit later today. But first, we always like to have fun when we start off the shows. And we had a really awesome media day with a lot of the Academy players that are local in LA. And we asked them a very simple question during the interviews. Come up with a secret handshake. So let's take a look at some of the handshakes that these players came up with.
I think we can do it. Just do it naturally. Just do it naturally? Just do it naturally. Just do it naturally with me, alright?
Oh my god. What do you think?
Here. Just start moving our hands and see what happens?
Yeah.
You know it. No. One more. Gotta snap, bro. Come on.
Can't snap.
Bro, we practice this.
Go on. But like, I don't know how to like.
Let's go with the idea.
Okay, you're like this. And then you go like this. Like that. Okay, ready? So it's like.
Okay. So complicated, bro.
Like that. Do you know how to do it?
When'd you come up with this one?
Like a 6 or something. You want to talk about it or you want to just go for it?
No, there's no way if we go for it, we're just gonna like...
Could be some crazy shenanigans.
Just do a fist bump. We just do a fist bump.
Actually, we have one, but it's so secret that no one knows about it. Not even us. Yeah. No, it's like so secret we can't. Yeah, we can't leak. But like if we're about to do it, like if me and Joel try to do it right now, do it. No, just do it. That's it. Like it's so fast. You guys can't even see it. Even higher.
No. We could. I don't know. We have to do like something like jiggy, you know? Like something like...
I don't know.
Yeah, so let's do one.
That was solid.
We got a little fist bump, yeah.
That's not very secret though.
That's not very secret. I'm
Like this?
Give you some ideas. That's all you got? That's all you got?
What if it's secret because no one will expect how basic it is?
Right now?
Yeah, right enough.
Can I pump with you guys?
High five.
High five? Gamma?
Couple nice handshakes right there. I gotta say though.
Oh, I got the wrong message.
JJ and Insanity never actually showed us their handshake. I was excited to see what they were gonna come up with on the spot, but we didn't actually get to watch it.
How funny is
Also,
Diamond,
too many
though?
fist bumps. Too many fist bumps. Diamonds was hilarious. Though. That's the best way to not come up with the handshake that I think I've ever heard for that.
What do you mean? He came up with one. It was just too fast. You gotta keep up, man.
True.
You gotta keep up.
Kangas. Weren't you listening, Kangas?
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's just like mine, a magical secret handshake together. Remember handshake? Remember we planned it out and then we.
Wait, let me make sure I get
it's
the
done.
direction. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay. Well, you left me hanging for too long, so I moved on to the next one. But that was, of course, some fun that we had with the players. Maybe we'll be able to see their mechanics on the map, on the Rift, match up to some of their mechanics during those handshakes. But speaking of, they also got to be studying up, not just on the mechanics, but on the patch change, because that's a big change for a lot of these players. We are on patch 12.15. If you're confused by this, I know we're in the middle of Proving Grounds. It's the middle of a tournament structure, but this is just how the cookie crumbles sometimes when our tournament starts so much earlier in the summer. So let's go over some of the changes that these players will have to prepare for. Magical, I'm going to have you start. What are some of the big ones to you jumping out that might impact the play that we see?
Singed.
No.
Okay. You want a real one? Fine. I'll talk about.
Pick a real one.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Concept's not in the tournament anymore. I was gonna say, wait a minute. If Concept's in, there might be shit.
I would love to see some Singed play, but really, I'm looking at Akali and Kennen top lane. I think Akali, it might only be a minor buff to her, just getting a little bit more maximum energy when she has Twilight Shroud. But we already saw players were more than willing to play her beforehand. And so this only, to me, makes her go from niche to just even more of a priority players might focus on. And then Kennen, Jenkins is going to be playing today. And he is the well-known Kennen player. So the fact that Kennen got buffed in the way that he did, I'm just expecting that we'll see probably some Kennen bans aimed towards Jenkins, but other players might even pick up the champion too.
Okay, I like it, and especially because we might see that today. That's very relevant. What about you, Beatdown, though? What's jumping out to you?
So 2 things jump out to me on this patch. One of them is Gwen. No, not Singed Magical. Gwen getting the true damage nerfed on the center of her Q. It went down from 75%. Now it's 50% true damage. One, I think we'll probably have her be a little less of a popular option into tanks. Maybe we'll see Camille come back for that reason. And it's partially just so they can kind of reduce her late game damage. So they may be more counterplay in the highest levels of play. The other one for me is the Callista nerf, because she lost she lost her base AD. And I think that's actually going to be pretty impactful for how strong her early game has been these last couple of patches.
Yeah, but it's only 3. It's only 30 AD that she lost.
That's every auto though. It adds up.
That's every auto, every ability.
I know it ends up adding up, but still, it's one of those things where it's like when Caitlyn got the 3 AD nerf way back in the long days ago, and I'm like,
and then she disappeared.
Well, no. She was there for a while, and then she disappeared because people have realized exactly as you had talked about that the attacks kind of add up over time.
Exactly. If there's one thing that I've learned from Freak, it's the base AD changes on champions. They're some of the biggest nerfs that you can possibly give to champions. Also, I love that there was that like color-coded key to like.
There always
is this nerfed in low elo or professional? I've never noticed that, so that was my first time seeing that. That was fantastic.
Been there all year.
But only this year?
I probably last year too. It's been around for a while, dude.
I think even since I've started playing, every patch they do. Maybe it's not color-coded in the exact way we're seeing there, but there's always some way where they're like, yeah, we intend this for this level of play, that level of play, pro play,
I always get my patch notes from videos. I prefer to listen.
Honestly, pretty valid.
It was news to me. But with that said, we also did last week say goodbye to 4 teams here in Proving Grounds. So we did want to give some credit to some of the players that performed well on the teams that have already dipped out of the tournament. So we're going to focus on the standout top performers. First up, Prismal.
Prismal, he looked great, honestly. Just seeing him swap from AD into support, it was a very quick switch to then play in the LCS briefly, come back and try to see if he can fit in with the team again. And then, you know, we kind of just keep going. Mastu, I think, was a very good young AD talent that we got to look at more in the future.
I like that. I like highlighting Masu because he had no competitive experience, was purely a solo queue player until he got picked up by Kitsuo and Robbie Bob for Team Pending. Yeah, and it's crazy that how much of a good performance he's had for a player who's literally just never played with anything but solo queue teammates before, and I think he's been really fun to see.
Yeah, I mean,
I love those stories where it is somebody that's coming in new, but we also do want to give some credit here to another one of the amateur players in Blaze.
I think Blaze is a player that really did shock me. When I looked at Fear, I didn't expect him to be like the top performing mid laner. I didn't even expect him to be the top performing player, but when it came to a lot of those assassins, like he broke out of just playing assassins and was able to play some of the control mages really well. Of course, right there we saw his LeBlanc play and how he's able to play that, but he was well known for the Akali play beforehand, and seeing that he's able to have new styles, have more that he brings to the table really has added.
And then finally, Shochi, the mid laner for Taco Gaming. Beatdown, I know that you wanted to talk about him.
Yeah, and he's definitely been a player we've been talking about all year long. Even in spring when he was Immortals AOE, we knew this guy was meant to be in Academy. And even in this split, having insanely standout performances on Taco Gaming, a big reason why they won their final against 100 Thieves Next. I think he's just someone worth highlighting and someone we're likely going to see next year in Academy.
Those are the players that we want to be highlighting going forward. If you want any takeaway from the teams that are already out of the tournament, follow Prismal, Masu, Shochi, and Blaze, at least from the broadcast perspective on our end. But it is rough that we always have to say goodbye to teams, and we will be saying goodbye to more teams today as well. So I want to open up the conversation to the importance of individual performance, because obviously there can only be one winner of Proving Grounds. Magical, we've done this enough times. We've seen enough winners. But there's a level of importance in having a stand-up performance. Being a player that can show, hey, even if I didn't make it that far in the tournament, individually I perform.
All right, the most recent one being Dokla, right? Last split, he was our MVP choice that we picked. His team got #1 seed, CLG Academy, but then they ended up losing very early on into Proving Grounds. Yet, look at him now. In LCS, absolutely popping off, going to playoffs with CLG, taking them there. It's just been great to see that kind of performance, but we also see that from all these other players that we highlighted today, but more. I think there's so many players on each of these amateur teams that it gets hard to pinpoint just one or two players, because I know we were actually having some good conversations about which player was the standout from each team and the teams that just got eliminated, and we all had kind of varied opinions on those because there's so many good, talented players there.
Yeah, and Beatdown, especially when we factor in the fact that Scouting Grounds no longer exists going forward. That was what a lot of fans, a lot of people in the scene assumed is where the scouting happened, right? Scouting Grounds is in the title, but it's actually easier to scout a player in these kinds of team environments, these tournaments, see how they play, how they react to their team around them, to such situations that you can actually see in a tournament setting. And I think that there's a lot of scouting that happens at Proving Grounds. We saw Anime Girl get picked up at TSM Academy, and the name changed to Seoul. He even got some LCS stage experience. So we do see some movement that happens after Proving Grounds typically.
Absolutely, and I think that's what's been such a great thing about Proving Grounds since they implemented it last year. The fact that a lot of coaches, you have scouts, they do watch, especially because these are the players we're going to see go to that next level in Academy. There are even players who are currently in Academy on the day that were formerly in Amateur. Let's look at our first series. We have Meech and Breezy, the bot lane for CLG Academy, very recently in Amateur. Last split for Meech and just last year for Breezy, and look at them now.
And Breezy was even a part of Scouting Grounds too, the very last one.
True. Yeah. It's not that they were mutually exclusive. Obviously, anytime you can get eyes on you is big. So shout out to all the eyes watching these players with intention of maybe promoting some through the ranks in the ecosystem. With that said, we got to talk about the amateur teams and expectations for them coming into the tournament, because we had a prediction at the start of Proving Grounds where we all laid it down on the line and said how many wins we thought amateur teams would get over Academy teams. And oh boy, that's a lot of red.
That is. I mean, I'm more surprised that Mazel went for 3. I'm like, okay, come on, man. There's at least going to be some. But then again, I thought I was confident. I was also thinking I was over ambitious with my 8. I thought, you know, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, and we're at 8 right now. So yeah, my prediction's about to be wrong today.
Well, you know what, Magical? It might not be. Because our producer Kelsey was gracious enough to let us re-predict with the current wins in mind. So let's take a look at the updated predictions and see where everybody is at. Mazel's doubling down on they're not going to get another win. That's absurd. Also, Cubby, I don't think he understands how math works.
No, I don't think so. Someone's got to tell him they already have 8 wins, but I guess.
There's a reason why I tell him not to do math on air. There's a reason.
You know what?
That's like the cardinal rule of casting, yeah.
These are fair points. Beatdown, I want to hear you defend yourself. Why do you have 15 wins, though? Because that's a lot. That's 7 more wins with only 3 amateur teams remaining in Proving Grounds.
Yeah, so the way this played out in my head, and I thought of this when Kelsey asked for my, the next prediction now that a lot of us got eliminated from the original ones. I think that it is largely dependent on a couple of things. 100 Thieves winning their series, which I think a lot of people are expecting realistically.
Okay.
CLGA dropping one game but winning the series overall, because the winners of our matches will play against each other in the next stage of this lower bracket. So that also is a matchup I think 100 Next will win. So that's already a good amount of wins there. I think GT will take a game off Cloud9 Academy. I think they'll take a game off 100 Academy, but my prediction's really banking on them beating them again. So, you know, it is a little reaching, maybe. But after my first
but it's possible.
But after my first prediction being as bad as it is, I gotta give them some faith. Let's be real.
No, fair enough. Magical, I see that you're really close to that, but obviously we'll see what happens later on.
I thought I was the one being like, yeah, I'm giving them a lot of opportunities.
It's like one extra win.
It's enough about us. That's enough about us and our predictions, because we got matches ahead of us. So if you want to follow up on all of the news, make sure you're following twitter.com/path2lcs. That is the Twitter account where you can get all the information about standings, schedules, all of that. And with that said, let's get into our first matchup of the day. We have CLG Academy versus AOE. Let's talk about how the teams got here to start off. Let's set the framing for everybody at home. The CLG Academy, last split. Magical, you already said they were first seed. They were 6th seed coming in from Academy this summer. Split 6, 6, and 6. 6 2-0s, 6 1-1s, and 6 0-2s was their record. And I mean, honestly, I think that this is still pretty decent for their performance, considering, because they're at the same level that they made it to last Proving Grounds in the spring, but with very different seeding, very different expectations for them coming into it. AOE, different story, right, Beatdown? Yeah, I mean, you followed their story throughout the amateur, circuit qualifiers. They were punching into top 4 consistently, and of course, now they've made a decent lower bracket run. So with that framing in mind, let's talk about the matchup that we want to cover here and the big narrative of trying to get into that next level, right? Because Beatdown, we look at a lot of players here. A lot of them have played in, air quotes, higher levels of League of Legends in their past.
Right, and I mean, we immediately think of on CLGA, Jenkins was on Team Liquid Academy, then got his shot with Team Liquid, I believe it was last year, and then CLG, now down to CLGA. So he's an example of trying to get back to where he previously was. The same thing with Winnie and Skytech on the side of AOE. Both were in Academy, and both are trying to make their way back into it now. And I think that's part of what's been so great about their performances to the back half of this year, because usually when you drop down, it's really hard for you to get back to where you were. So many new players are coming through. So much change is fast and hard in League of Legends. So it is impressive to see them still grind hard, have these insane performances to the point where they are now making a case once again that they should be considered to go back to Academy.
And the biggest name there, Magical, Jenkins. He's played on the LCS stage before, now back in Academy. What would a big performance mean for a player like Jenkins here?
Jenkins, I think, needs to have this big performance. This is a player that we've seen highs of back when he was on Team Liquid Academy, when he was the player he was the talk of the town. He was the guy everyone's like, this is the guy who's going to be the next upcoming top laner. So picking up wins here, solidifying that he remains in the conversation, I think is what's most important. And plus, we already kind of touched on it, that Ken got buffed. I think this is even more. It is literally Jenkins' perfect opportunity to show that he is still an insanely good top laner.
As you can see on that fun fact, apparently he was a Morgana player before the Kennen play. I actually was not aware of that going into the day, so that's kind of a fun little fact right there. I like
what Kelsey said too, of why. He said like Morgana and Kennen were similar, and she asked why.
You just are flash R.
You just flash R, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it's simple enough.
You know what? I can respect that.
So let's talk about the other player then, Winston, on the side of AOE, because that's another player that we name dropped as somebody who has played in the Academy scene before and now back down. A fun fact, actually, he played up against CLG Academy last Proving Grounds too.
That's what I was about to say. It's the fact that this is essentially a rematch. Even if it was Immortals AOE, in this exact same spot, in this exact same round, CLG Academy faced off against Immortals AOE, and Winnie was a big factor of like why the games were so close. It ended up being a 2-1 series that CLG, the #1 seed of that split, barely were able to scrape by, and I think a lot of that was because how Winston was able to play. Unfortunately, there were just some other plays, great rotations from CLG Academy that completely denied Winston from setting up his entire game.
And the thing
oh, sorry, go for it.
I was going to say, the thing I want to add, too, is that Winston, not only just from last year, I think even this year he's improved so much as a player, too. And I think this time around, now especially paired with SkyTech, who they actually used to play together in the same school, too, shout out University Western, is the fact that they've been playing so well together that I think they're a big reason for a lot of AOE's success there. And the fact that they team fight so well together. SkyTech, when it comes to engaging, on the regular champs, it's great. And on some unorthodox champs, which we'll get onto later, it is just something to behold.
So let's talk about the support matchup then. You already name-dropped SkyTech. What about Breezy? Because these are two players that we wanted to go and highlight when we look at this matchup, this head-to-head here, for maybe different reasons. When I look at SkyTech as a player, he's shown a very different play from when we last saw him in Academy last split, and specifically with the champion picks. We'll get into that a little bit later when we get into the B-roll footage. And actually, it's never mind. It's right there, the fun fact.
There, man. Why would you want to wait?
Well, let's talk about it then. The man played Vi. Support.
Yeah, he's played it, I believe, twice this split, and it's
once
says
in
the fun
Proving
fact is
Grounds.
that. Right, yeah, but I just mean the split overall. And yeah, he played it recently. You'll see it in the clip. It's something that is definitely unique to him, as the fun fact points out. No one's done that in competitive, and he is so far undefeated on the pick. It's just unreal the kind of stuff he's been able to pull out. And I actually think the pick was really nice in their previous game, just playing it into Prismal's Yuumi, making it so that, I mean, as soon as you dismount, you're in trouble.
Well, I think it's also the fact that SkyTech is so good at playing those engaged supports.
But now on the opposite side, Breezy, as you got to see the man on your screen there. Let's talk about him. Magical, what should we expect from Breezy coming into this match?
Well, Breezy, when we look at him in the past, he was always this great roaming support. And I think he still is that, but he's also played much more of the defensive role for his team to really set him up. The Tom Kench play that he's had as of late, that still facilitates that roaming style, but how many times, almost pixel perfect, he gets devours to save teammates. It has been unreal, and I mean, that's why Tom Kench is considered pretty powerful to begin with, but like right here, look how low Triple was. The fact that he saves them so they can get these kills further afterwards, this is Breezy at his strongest, when he can play around the entirety of the map and not just for bot lane.
Little bit longer of a time that he's spent in this level of competition. SkyTech got that one split last in Academy, but of course, Breezy's had a little bit more time under his belt to develop and maybe gain some of those hard support skills. But with that said, I believe that we actually can hear from Breezy and Jenkins as well, having a little bit more fun going into the match before we get ready for Pick and Ban. But of course, Pick and Ban is right around the corner, so hopefully we can get into that one soon. Beat that, I'm going to throw this. Okay, no, never mind. I am here that we're ready for it. So let's hear from Breezy and Jenkins.
Well,
oh my gosh, we're Breezy and Jenkins?
We're Breezy and Jenkins.
Dibs on Breezy, just saying.
Oh. I wanted to be a cool support. You know what? I'm okay. I gotta be a Kennen player. You know what? I've always wanted to learn how to play Kennen. Actually, I knew how to, but I only know how to flash ult. Anyways,
I mean that's like a lot of the champions. That's good.
Yeah, I mean most of it, but there's also a lot of nuances into it, and we'll see if Jenkins is going to play it today. Because in this pick and ban, we see Azir and Twitch actually banned immediately by AOE with the Phalios to follow shortly after, and the Syndra towards Young. Kind of expected, and that Trundle ban, Trundle and Poppy considered the two premier junglers at the moment.
And it's not surprising we're seeing so many hyper carries taken away. It hasn't been very long since Meech has been part of the AOE system, so they say, listen, buddy, we know what you're all about. We're going to take away some of those strong picks. And I mean, even with Sivir nerf, she's getting a lot of respect, and hyper carry just seems to be where we're at again. It's like 12.3 all over again. So now we are seeing those things taken away, and it's looking like the Kalista hover, which is interesting. I mean, we talked about it. Base AD nerfed, actually a pretty impactful takedown on her early game power. But with that in mind, AOE still seem confident in grabbing it for themselves. They want that in Lynx's hands.
I was about to say too, it's interesting because what do we not see banned here by CLG Academy that we've seen banned away by many of the Academy teams that have tried to face up against Lynx? Zeri is one of them. I'm looking at Zeri from each, but I'm also thinking that Draven. That's something that we've seen a lot of these amateur teams playing consistently. So the fact that they want to not opt for that, they go for the Kalista that has been nerfed and leave Poppy open. That is where I'm most concerned. about with AOE grabbing that Kalista so early, because Poppy is such a great champion against Kalista.
Yeah, and it's also a nice grab, even though I haven't seen Kevy play very much of this one in actual matches. It's nice for another reason too, because Winnie, the Gragas, is something he likes to play on a lot, because great in team fights, great at facilitating his lanes early on. Another champion that Poppy with that steadfast presence can have a big impact on. So I like that. You kind of get a 2-for-1 there for CLG Academy, and they're also going to go throw Meech on. Well, you can't ban every hyper carry, so they're going to end up picking up the Varus, and it's nice. The thing I like about this champion is you are strong in lane because of your range and your early power and some of your abilities, and those chains of corruptions are really great team fight tools.
Though I will say, I wish it was Gorka playing it, because we also know Gorka to be the AP Varus player in the bot lane.
That's okay.
I mean, it's better this way, isn't it? It's better.
Yes.
Oh, actually, we'll see if Meech is going to go for the AP variant. I doubt it. Especially when you have a lane that you kind of need to be careful against. The Kalista Renata lane, pretty powerful in their own right. But then afterwards, Wukong. Something that Winnie has played pretty effectively, but so has Kevy. So if they can deny that, or not at all.
Can't talk about hovers. Instead, it's going to be
Hey,
Young.
That one's one of those ones where it's like, okay, it's been picked pretty much all the time.
You can't trust players, Magical. They like to mess with us. I think that's what it's specifically about there. But anyways, we're seeing the Zoe come through for Young, a player who's definitely gotten a lot of priority for this AOE team, both in and out of the draft phase. So a champion where he can, you got a lot of range, poke, zone control. I think it's great for great for AOE Esports, and it's going to be answered with the Talia.
The Talia answer, which then means that we're going to have triple facing
Also
up
been
against
nerfed.
Young. Yeah, it has been nerfed too. I'm glad you actually mentioned that, because it wasn't like the biggest nerf to her, but it is something that kind of makes her not quite as powerful when it comes to bowling in the earlier stages of the game.
Right, but I think it's still something. It seems that it's something CLG still want to prioritize. You still have a lot of playmaking potential. Getting out, if you can get out of lane, use the Weaver's Wall, and I like it in particular because I mean Triple in Proving Ground specifically has been playing out of his mind, and most recently the thing that stands out to me is the Talia game where I think he ended 10-1 or something like that. So I think just getting him on a comfort champion here to start things off is perfectly fine.
Yeah, as we then get into the second part of bans, double up on the jungle bans, but not Wukong. And that's, I think, what surprises me the most. Something that has been pretty powerful, doesn't necessarily have the best time against Poppy. But then on the other side, AOE doubling up on the support bans. So, Breezy, I think this is actually going to put him on something new today. So he has to find a different strategy that he wants to have in that bot lane. I'm not necessarily thinking that, or maybe I am thinking the Ashe, because he is going to go for the Ashe.
All right, so that's going to be a pretty interesting lock-in. We see the Ashe support come in. It has been popping up more and more lately. And you do offer that, a lot of range and poke, which I think is part of what makes Kalista and specifically Renata so strong in this combination in the bot lane. So you have that answer where you will be able to get lane push, and you also have that opportunity to start fights off with your ultimate, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Both members of this bot lane have so much CC in their kit. It's actually a little disturbing having to play against that one.
It is, and then you have...
is that a lock-in?
That's a lock-in Vi. That's a locked-in Vi, but that's going to be for Winnie this time around.
That's fine.
Yeah, so not actually getting the Sky Tech Vi this time around, but like you said, perfectly fine. Winnie on this. I mean, we've been seeing that Vi, usually into the Zeri, has been like the go-to. But the fact that you can kind of bypass a lot of the crowd control on CLG with Vi that they clearly have is something that I think AOE perfectly read.
Right, the fact that you are unstoppable during your cease and desist means that you're going to the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, Chains of Corruption. They're not going to stop you from getting on top of either Meech or Breezy in these team fights. It's a good way to be able to kind of bypass the front line, also complemented by the Ornn we're seeing from Zamudo. And now that we're seeing the drafts kind of round out, Jenkins will be playing the Gwen. He's been playing it a lot despite the nerfs. I think it is worth noting, again, just to reiterate, Gwen losing true damage on her Q does mean that she isn't as big of a tank shredder as before, and I think that's usually why you see her picked into these particular matchups. Will still have late game power, is still really good at absorbing pressure from all-in compositions, so I think that's why CLG are going for that one. But AOE Esports, their comp, even though Ornn definitely helps you scale into the later parts of the game with those Ornn items, the fact that you have insane long-range engage, AOE Esports have a lot of early game power here, and I think that's mostly what they're going for. You have Kalista in the bot lane, you have Zoe in the mid lane who's usually good at getting push, and you have Winnie who's he's just looking to fight at any point.
And see, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I'm looking at AoE. You get an Ornn, which, yeah, the ornaments are going to be beneficial. You have Zoe, so you can possibly find picks and you can possibly burst people out. But it's much more the early to mid game. For AoE and CLG, they can survive that. They can easily scale up into the late game. Doesn't matter if Gwen has been nerfed or not, still going to be a terror to anybody in the back line. So let's roll on to the Rift for our first game of this best of 3 series, the grudge match between CLG Academy and AoE Esports.
And just to reiterate, if you're just joining us, what Magical is referring to is that at this exact point in the lower bracket, CLG Academy faced AoE. At the time, they were Immortals AoE in spring. That's right. And it is pretty funny. Meech was actually on AoE at the time. Winnie, of course, still on AoE. So now they have this little bit of a rivalry going through here. And Winnie did once say when facing up against Shochi that he said something like, I'm gonna show Shochi where I'm at and where he's at, and you gotta imagine it's gonna be the same thing playing against Meech.
I do find it also funny that there are 4 players remaining across the board from that series that was played last spring, except the one difference is that Meech swapped over. Triple, Breezy, both a part of that. They got that 2-1 barely scraping by to make sure they could beat AoE Esports, and Winnie being one of the main reasons that series was so close, especially his second game performance on Volibear. I'm curious to see how he's going to perform on Vi in this first game against CLG, especially because we're expecting to see much more aggro and much more aggressive plays early into the game from AoE.
Right, because this is what their comp basically wants to be doing here. As soon as Winnie hits level 3, he's going to be trying to doing something somewhere. And I mean, Winnie, again, his improvement as a player this year is something to definitely discuss, Magical. The fact is, between him and SkyTech, I think they play so well together and are a big part of AoE's success, being able to facilitate their other laners, helping Zamudo, helping Lynx and Young get to those power spikes they need to get to and team fight very well. So now that Winnie's playing Vi, I mean, he's going to be able to do the very same thing this game.
The only thing is SkyTech on Renata. Not quite that roamer, not quite the facilitator.
He can roam a little.
See, I always just like seeing SkyTech on Precon. The Vi fit a very similar role, but he has also played Tomcat. He's also played the Nami as well. It's not like he's against playing these more Enchanter-style supports. But I'm going to ask you this. So we look at that level 3 that you talked about for Winnie and SkyTech, the fact that they got pushed in the bot lane. Do we see potential play mid lane coming in from AoE utilizing both support and jungle?
Very possible. It's something they do quite a lot. I mean, Young is a player on this team who even the coach puts a lot of respect on. During the qualifiers, he specifically said to me that he always thought Young was the best mid in each of those tournaments and says that he deserves a lot more respect. And with how confident this man plays and the mechanics he's been able to show us, I definitely agree. And I'm excited on a champ like Zoe to see what he's going to be able to do as well. But I think one thing, Magical, we didn't get to really talk about yet is what CLG want to do. You did touch on it. It is a little bit more about scaling, trying to get to those later parts of the game. And I agree with you. I think the only real difference is, okay, nothing ended up happening.
You're good.
Okay, we're good. The main difference is that you still have Kevy on this Poppy, who's going to be able to make a lot of things happen. And speaking of things, Winnie's already here.
They're already posturing like they want to commit for the dive. They're looking for Meech. Meech's taking a lot of damage, flashed away, but that's going to be the charge up.
He's gone!
Blood for SkyTech and Lynx, with Lynx barely surviving, but Winnie is on the wrong side of the fight, so they got to sacrifice. Their jungler might even be able to get an execute. Did he take any damage beforehand? He did from Breezy.
Still, honestly, pretty good from the side of AoE. It's not Winnie's spawn timer is going to be really low, means he's going to be able to get back onto the map. That 1-for-1 is huge though. You're playing for bot lane. Lynx is on the Callista. Even with Ornn items, you want this lead in the bot lane to start going right away, Magical. So AoE, they waste no time there. Winnie goes for the play, even with the vision there. As soon as you see the cleanse come through, they know it's time to go.
Exactly. It's go time, pull the trigger. They even get a TP out of Jenkins in this play. So I feel like that's actually kind of what makes this slightly in favor of AoE.
It's a good point. No, that's an excellent point, Magical. Fact is, teleport's gone for Jenkins, and this is an interesting lane too, because something Zamudo in particular does with the Ornn is he doesn't take flash. He goes Ignite TP. There is no unsealed spellbook. He's running Grasp of the Undying. So if he gets the solo onto Jenkins, who blew both his summoners, there's a potential for Jenkins to be put out of the game just in a 1v1 scenario there.
And very likely, but we'll have to keep our eyes on that for the time being. That level 3 play was made by Winnie, as you had called out that he was going to play aggressively around that. But now we look at Kevy. Kevy has been essentially just farming up, trying to see if he can keep up with Winnie in clear, but hasn't really made that impact on the map just yet.
Nope, but now with the wave starting to stack, he's got spotted out possibly by...
But he didn't notice
it was
the ward.
No, it wasn't even just the ward. He got spotted out by Callista W. So that information pretty much ruins that play, and with Winnie in the area, he would have been able to answer. So it's true. Kevy has been looking to try and make something happen early, but hasn't had any of the opportunities. Will still be useful come level 6. Keeper's Verdict is a very impactful ultimate, but I think that's going to become most impactful at the Herald fight, because with AOE wanting to play for the Herald, level 6 is going to be a big deal for CLG Academy. If you get a good Keeper's Verdict off and you knock people like Winnie, maybe Lynx out of the fight, because surely they're going to rotate for it, that could be how CLG start getting things rolling in their favor.
See, I'm actually surprised. I would think that CLG wouldn't even put up a fight around Rift Herald, purely to try to see if they can punish Lynx and Skytech, who don't have their flashes anymore, which would be good points to attack for CLG Academy. Help out Meech a little bit more, get him back into the game where he's not just getting heavily punished in this lane as it gets shoved in over and over again.
See, that is a good point. However, I think AOE are going to rotate their bot lane up in about a minute's time to set up for it. Sometimes AOE does this where they'll lane swap Lynx and Skytech earlier on to be able to set up properly for the objective. CLG also do this too, but with how much pressure Beach and Breezy are under, they're likely not going to be able to do it as quickly, and even if they do, they will lose gold and XP for it here.
Okay, doesn't seem like Lynx and Skytech are going to pull that trigger just
Not yet. Not yet. Another minute,
still,
maybe.
I was going to say, still a bit early. They had the wave crashing. There wasn't really much for them to do in the bot lane, so I do respect them going back to get a little bit of extra power against Meech and Breezy, because they can still look to see if they can get a 2v2 kill against Meech and Breezy. Try to punish them early into the game, because I'm imagining that Lynx and Skytech, well, Lynx at least, is going to be able to hit that level 6 soon.
That's right. With all the pressure going on in that bot lane, you see the lead coming through in itemization. That's definitely going to be the case. Looking top lane too again. We're at 7 minutes. Kevy hasn't been able to find an angle. The laners of AOE have been warding very well, expecting where he's going to be and respecting the timers of this Poppy. And that's a big deal because of the fact that if nothing's going to be able to come through for CLG, AOE are going to be in the perfect position for that Herald fight. You see Winnie hasn't even been going for any plays. He's just power farming because he wants that level 6 as soon as possible. That cease and desist will be very important in that next fight. And there it is. He ticked over.
Ticked over. Looking at Lynx too. Probably going to be the next one to tick over, get level 6s. Kevy comes down with triple, looking for this play in the bot lane, but it's completely red. Weaver's ball gonna come out. That is a nice flash in from Kevy, locking in place Lynx so he couldn't do anything.
Yeah, that ends up being a nice play there. Triple, getting the push and allowing, having that opening to use the Weaver's wall before anyone can do anything. You get that pick off right away, and it just means that now you get some breathing room for Breezy and Meech. They get to push in, they might be able to get plates, and they might actually get a good recall off to set up for that Rift Herald. So now, they might be able to get there first as a bot lane, but Lynx himself, he's already on the way up. Worth noting, he will not be level 6. Does not have access to the ultimate.
Does this make me big brain? Because I was expecting CLG to make a play bot lane. Yeah?
Yeah, no, you know, I'll give you that. Well played.
Yeah, I got it. I got him to say I'm big. Well, to agree that I'm big brain. He didn't say it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you. I'll give you that one. But AOE are going to go for the Rift Herald, which I think is super important to how they want to be playing this game. CLG, I mean, with how much late game power they have, they're kind of okay letting this one go, and you can see it with how much time the rest of the team's spending bottom side of Kevy. He's farming camps. He's just going to go for Dragon. It's fine. It's 9 minutes. Soul can be something they can play for later on. But ultimately now the question is, what's Winnie going to do with this Rift Herald? Bottom lane, with all the dive power he now has, along with Lynx and Skytech, getting to or about to be level 6, I think is probably the most likely place for it to happen.
I agree. I think that that's going to be the point of attack coming in from AOE. And when we look at the objectives they got to for each side, you talked about how the Soul could be an objective that CLG could potentially play around. And what does Soul do well in? It's really good when you have a scaling composition. While the Rift Herald for AOE, it's perfect to try to get them snowballing right out of the gate to try to see if they can make this play in the bot lane. Because there is a minor gold lead for AOE, but it's really negligible.
Right, I think the big thing now for this bot lane in the 2v2, I think that now that Meech and Breezy have ticked over to level 6, they have a pretty solid advantage going through just with how much CC they have in their ult. Lynx doesn't have cleanse right now, so if a play happens soon in isolation, that could be a way that CLG Academy prevent the Herald drop from coming on that bottom side. But right now, I don't think we're anywhere close to that because Winnie is actually just going for the invade, using that bit of pressure Zamudo's been able to get to invade.
There, you can see how far up Jenkins is too. The TP comes in from Zamudo. They're looking for a play, I think, onto Jenkins. If they can get the Hollowed Mist out, that might help them out. And look where Jenkins is playing. There it is.
Oh, there it is. It's out.
A little bit too early. The knockup comes in from Zamudo. Not going to be able to get the call of the Forge God, but they got the knockback with the battery and attack, and they can take out the kill for Zamudo.
Perfect. They don't even need to commit that cease and desist. The ultimate is still there for Winnie if he wants to make a play bot. And speaking of plays, we already see the Chains of Corruption come through. Triple out of lane means you need to go right now if you were Lynx and Skytech, because we already saw what the Weaver's Wall has been able to do. And the fact that Lynx's ult is gone too makes a play a little bit harder for AOE to make, but you already see it. Winnie's path and bot, they want this fight.
They want the fight. They want to see if they can punish Meech and Breezy, who are fairly immobile themselves, but with Winnie still waiting until he can at least get in a good vicinity, and plus CLG have a good line of wards to spot out where Winnie is. Meech and Breezy felt more than confident to shove in that lane, get themselves some plates, so that they can essentially make that top lane play completely equated across the map.
And now so far, like you said, the lead is minor for AOE. Especially given the fact that Meech was able to take some gold back with the play that Triple and Kevy helped set up earlier, means that CLG, honestly, they're in a good spot with how much late game team fighting tools they have. The thing AOE needs to be worrying about now is how are they going to make effective use of this Herald? They need to get it down soon. If you can break mid open, unlock Young so that he can move around the map the way Triple's been doing, I think that is also as good an option as what we were discussing earlier. But with the timer on that Herald running out, Winnie is going to have to make a decision very soon, Magical.
Looks like it might be top lane that they focus on, because he's already there when, like you said, with the timer getting close to 0. You gotta play that soon, otherwise it's gonna be wasted as Zamudo is shoved in a bit by Jenkins, but not overwhelmingly threatened.
Oh, not quite. And it is going to be Young getting the blue buff gifted over to him here. But so far, again, we're looking at Winnie. This is my biggest concern for AOE. What are they going to do with that Herald? They need to snowball this composition. Yeah, he's probably going to drop it somewhere soon, I hope. I hope he's keeping an eye on it.
I'm keeping my eyes on the eye right now, and it is getting dicey. He's on the Wolves at the moment. Winnie, come on, just put it down. Just
I think he's going to drop it mid.
Just drop it now.
Yeah, he's going to drop it mid.
Now.
Any second now.
Any second. Now. Maybe now. Now.
Maybe now?
Now?
Yeah. He's gonna drop it right now. There it is. See? So getting gold onto Young, I think, is good. You're not gonna get the turret break that you're maybe hoping for. I know I could just feel the tension in you.
I was getting worried. It was down to the wire. But you know what? At least it's placed. The gold is picked up by AOE, shared amongst Young and Winnie. Like you said, not gonna take the tower, but it's still a gold influx nonetheless.
Right. So it is good. It is a little...
nice flash. Nice flash.
Yeah, that was a little dangerous. Nice, though, move from Breezy. You talked about how he was that roaming support. Able to find these ways to influence other lanes in the early game, kind of like we see from Skytech, and he's doing it. He's making the effort, and when something easy to use like Enchanted Crystal Arrow, I mean, it's just so easy, especially with this build that he's going for, the support build that everyone likes and everyone thinks is very cool. Having that ultimate at, like, what is it, 30 seconds?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. I've been playing it for quite some time.
I don't like you.
Not surprising, right? I mean, I was also playing it before it was cool. Thank you very much.
That makes it worse somehow.
When in doubt, if there's a build that exists, I've probably already played it.
Yeah, I won't argue with you on that one, Mr. AP Tristana. And now...
Hey, it's good at taking towers.
Okay. AOE Esports. Looking for that team fight to really break the game open for them. This dragon here, the second one, could be what gets it for them here. Especially with Zamudo walking down, trying to find the opportunity. There's a play to be made. Jenkins is still top. He has no teleport. Exactly. So this could be AOE's opening to just go ahead and start the dragon here. Start stacking things up for themselves. Why?
Arrow connect. Nice cleanse, though. It was stolen away. using at least a little bit of the buffer.
Oh
Nice
my
Battle
God.
Star as well on a Breezy. So Breezy will be out of the fight. The Dragon was already started by AOE. Winnie and Lynx will secure that. So there's a delay on that stacking game CLG were trying to commit.
And I like, but this is fine because you don't necessarily need the Dragon Soul. I like the call from AOE. They didn't have the greatest vision. You don't want to walk into things like Ornn, Vi, Zoe. It's just not advised. And they're at a point in the game where they're like, oh, whatever, it's fine. Let them have it. Instead, they looked for the mid play again with Breezy. Luckily, Young swapped to Cleanse. Otherwise, he would have been taken out. But it's CLG, honestly, understanding when and where they can be doing things. Oh, Meech is... No, he's okay.
He's okay.
Triple's here. Triple's here.
I was a little worried for a second, but like you said, I think they spotted out that Triple was not in mid lane, so they're like, okay, there's a possibility that he's going to be around. With the Weaver's Wall used for mobility, look at where Winnie is still hanging out. He's still looking to force out bot lane, so they can take this turret, clear out the ward, and Breezy Meech can't really do anything to stop him.
That's right. And I mean, because you see Kevy in the mid lane, he's going to drop that Herald. You have that opening to take the bottom tier 1. And it should be first brick going over to AoE. Nice and easy.
So.
Yeah, but losing the mid tier 1 does hurt a little bit. It's going to make it easier for CLGA to get that mid wave shoved in. Start putting vision on the AoE side of the map in their jungle.
Oh, flash in,
he's gone.
Seismic shove. No cleanse this time, Young. So secondary charge with the kill.
That's a big, and this is part of what CLG's comp is so good at. Just like Zamuda with this Ornn, you have this Ashe that's going to be able to get you long-range engagements here. And when you get it from that distance, the longest distance, I think it's like a 3-second stun on Ashe. Perfect time to set up the seismic shove, pretty much anything you want to follow up. So that means that AoE, and you have to be very careful if you are not Lynx who has cleanse or Young when he has cleanse up.
Dan, I talked about the pick potential that AoE have when you have something like a Vi, like a Zoe, but we also have to commend and give props over to CLG with that same potential. Breezy on those Enchanted Crystal Arrows is going to be so important. Meech on his Chains of Corruption, going to be a very important tool as well. So they have a lot that they can utilize for a very similar style in order to get them through this little hump of the mid game, which they have done pretty well so far.
Yeah, we're still at a point now that Mythics are coming through where AoE can confidently fight. If they get the front-to-back 5v5 that they're looking for, they're still in a good position. But props to CLG. They're not giving it to the Magical in any capacity here. They're looking for very cheeky fights that absolutely are not fair for the side of AoE, and that's exactly what they need to be doing. When you have a comp that isn't as strong early looking to scale, all you gotta do, Magical, is minimize their losses. And I say a 300 gold deficit is about as minimized as can be.
I think they're going to have a lead is what you're talking about, because they're going to topple this turret. Sure, it will be equated in the top lane, but the fact that you have 2 turrets taken, and one of which being the mid lane for CLG Academy, this is putting them in a great position to control AoE. And when we look at Kevin, when he's found successes in Academy so far of this split, it has been on how he's played more of a control style jungle. This is a player who is more infamous for playing AP junglers, but in Academy has been much more the controlled style.
So far, just as much kill participation as Winnie, Kevy is in a pretty good spot with the rest of his team this game.
Okay, there's only been 5 kills, and it's 18.5 minutes
it counts. It still
counts. There might be another one, because Young is in trouble. How's that flash available? We'll flash over the wall with the sleep trouble bubble connection.
Teleport.
Now a TP
coming.
They've got damage onto Kevy, looking for the Keeper's Verdict, but it cannot knock away cease and desist. So they will take 1 kill onto Kevy with a fight onto Link. Flashing away. Sleepy trouble bubble connected as well, but they got to be careful because Shakin's getting a lot of damage. Holds Samudo is completely focused away. Triple. Throw another rock at him.
He's ghosting.
But he's still getting away.
Wait, no,
and look
he's not.
at that.
He's just
Samudo, the sidesteps. He is outplaying them, but you know he's eventually going to fall because Jenkins is on the hunt. But is he? Wait a minute. Zamudo, how did you do it? The footwork on this top laner, the rookie, outplaying CLG, and now Jenkins making sure he cannot easily retreat from the fight with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, barely missing. No way does Zamudo try to go for a fight. Yes, he does on him, but there it is. I was about to say, there's no way you can take him down.
It was the only thing available to Zamudo there, but I like the attempt from AOE. They managed to get a lot of gold as a result of this one, and it was a nice play. As soon as you see CLG come through here, and the fact that things like the Weaver's Wall were committed, Zamudo comes right in and says, let's do it. It's finally time to fight. And yeah, it just starts with the arrow. Again, at that range, you're stunned for 3.25 seconds, something ridiculous like that. So Young playing his life well, buying time for, of course, Zamudo to come here with the Call of the Forge God. And like you said, you cannot knock away the cease and desist.
No, and it allows them to get the kill, but we go back to live. Lynx and Skytech are looking to topple that tier 1 in mid, and now they got to be careful because the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is at least able to save the life of Breezy this time around.
Right, but that pressure does mean that at least AOE are going to be able to get another dragon under their belts. But you can see it, CLG answering at every turn here actually have themselves, like you were calling, Magical, in a little bit of a gold lead. And a lot of it, of course, is on Meech, which we like to see because you're playing the Varus. You're going to be the team's damage in those later parts of the game. And with him having that bit of a lead over Lynx, it shows in the damage he's able to put out in these team fights. CLG, honestly, in a really good position here in Game 1.
As well, we didn't get to see it because the replay was going on at the time, but Meech was able to take both tier 1 and 2 in the top lane. They have 4 turrets they've taken in total. He's got a Ginsu's Rageblade already completed in his inventory. It's more of the scaling, but if he gets picked out like this, the flash away is going to save his life, but is it? Because they got him with the Berserk on the other side, and the handshake,
oh my god, it's perfect!
Wombo combo on top of Meech. Here's the Weaver's Wall, but Triple, you're way too late to the party.
This is what you needed. This is the pick that they were looking for, and they got it. Meech flashed and died, and they took Breezy out in the process. It means that even though you're going to see Jenkins pushed to the bottom tier 2 turret, you get the Baron, you get so much gold, and even more up front from this neutral objective, and it's going to give AOE the tools to potentially start to snowball here.
But I do like what CLG are doing on top of this. They are taking some turrets so they can get some gold back for themselves before the Baron-powered play will start up for AOE.
Yeah, it's tough. You needed to make this play as AOE, but the fact that you lose so much in those tier 2 turrets does hurt them a bit. But you can see the angle. Zamudo, whenever he has a timer, he is looking for plays in the mid lane, and these ults were layered beautifully. Meech and Breezy, they never had a chance.
Oh, I love what Zamudo and Winnie were able to do too. It was the knockup from the wall charge out of Ornn, then the Vault Breaker out of Winnie, so that Meech had no escape. He had already blown Cleanse before from Hostile Takeover. It was well played by AOE, but still looking at where we are in the game. We're only separated by about 300 or 400 gold between the two teams. That is not a big lead that you would expect from a team that was able to get 2 kills and immediately turn for the Baron afterwards. And now you can tell that CLG are not feeling deterred at all because they got a lot of damage on his Skytech with the needlework in the back line.
Oh, needlework is coming. Oh, Skytech, he's so fancy!
And there goes Cease and Desist on the Jenkins. They do turn it around for a 1-for-1 at the moment. But look at the battle start.
Oh, look who's here.
The Call of the Forge. God, his Lynx will go into a bailout, but he will fall 2 for 2 across the board. AOE continue to look to battle out with those battle starts connecting. Kevin getting the wall charge on Ornn on the other side. But Triple trying to cut the wave so they don't lose the tier 1 turret. But it will topple as AOE continue to march the minions back towards the base of CLG.
Right, the Baron buff is really helpful in this regard. Those minions do extra damage, and that's such a big fight. Again, coming through from AoE, because before it, what I even wanted to get into is the fact that with the Baron, you can pick up a lot of gold off these turrets, because it's 6-3 right now. That's 3 turrets, a bunch of tier 2s, and if they can get them with this Baron buff Magical, that's going to be a lot of extra gold into AoE's pocket. No buts, really, even though Baron will expire in a minute. What? No!
I'm going to argue with you on this.
Argue with me. I want to hear it.
So you had a 2-for-2 play. Baron buff for AoE. CLG are the composition we had tagged as the scaling and late game composition. They are now at a point where you have 3 items on Meech. You're about to get your 3rd item on Triple. You have your front line in Kevy. The only one that needs to get another item too is Jenkins, and once that happens, you're going to cut through everyone on AoE. So I think that CLG have done a good job in delaying the game from just ending outright.
Oh, I'm not arguing that. I'm saying AOE, I think, are still in a good position, and they're still strong on the map where they can continue looking at these fights. Look what we just saw. Breezy force the flash. Have to respect the fact that AOE are all in this bottom side jungle, and if CLG aren't careful, if they get womboed again, like they have in these last couple of fights, you do risk losing more crucial neutrals. The big thing, oh, no cleanse.
This is also a problem when you can just wombo onto Lynx, but he is alive! Somehow he survives with a kill on a Poppy. Here's the call of the Forge God. Triple knock a Paddle Star with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto Triple on the other side, but they cannot follow up the CC, so they will take the one pick.
And that's all you need. Zamudo's ulting to make sure they can't chase the members of AOE, and this is what I'm talking about. The sheer wombo combo and the CC threat that Skytech and Winnie just continue to pose is how they continue to get these pickoffs. And it means Kevy off the map, you get to push out these waves a little further, control vision on that bottom side, and you almost guarantee yourselves a dragon here. And this
look at this.
This is off an arrow. This is looking cool, but this is off a play CLG Academy wanted to make, and they were expecting it. They're moving Lynx up like, oh, don't worry, Lynx, we got you. We just need you to stand up front and bait him a little bit.
And it worked out where they were able to save Lynx's life as well, getting the kill back on to Kevy. So now they've got the setup around the dragon, and where it started, the first dragon of the game was taken by CLG Academy. Looks like the third and soul point potential will be AoEs unless Jenkins on the side can start something off. But like you said, Zamudo without ult is going to be something that AoE have to be cautious of. But instead they turn for the insurance.
Oh, wait a second.
The late game scaler, Jenkins getting caught out on the side and blown up by Young.
Yeah, that Weaver's Wall from Triple kind of forced AoE to only go upwards, and since Jenkins was split off, that's really unfortunate timing there for CLG, and that means AoE not only get their soul point, they get more gold with the tier 2 turret. They can actually start to potentially threaten the tier 3, but I think it's soon they're going to back off, spend the gold that they have earned, and just be happy with the fact that they're in a really good position when it comes to the game and the map right now. You see this lead is now shot up to 3K, and you can see it. It's bot and top. And actually, bot, top, and jungle. And Lynx, being the player who we were highlighting to be the early to mid-game carry, is the one we need to see in the lead here. And it shows in all the damage he's able to put out.
Well, plus, you see he has a gold lead, and gotta imagine the ornament on top of that giving even more of a gold lead to Lynx and the rest of AoE. Right now, AoE are in a position where even if the enemy team has great scaling options, we just saw Jenkins getting picked out on the side. He is even down behind Zamudo in gold, so when can this Gwen ever even come online?
It's going to be tough. I mean, past the 2-item point, Jenkins, I think, is still fair to say he is online. I think the big thing I want to highlight, too, is that this next team fight, even though they've all been going so well, for AoE is important. CLG, look at the inventory. Stopwatches pretty much across the board, and especially on key people like Triple and Meech. So all the wombo can technically be partially avoided if you pop the stopwatch in time, and that's something AoE need to be wary of here. Oh my god, Winnie does not care. It's just jumping in there using blast codes. But again, the thing to keep an eye out on, AoE, oh my god, they're just going to start the Baron.
Yeah, they are. They're going to force it. They got a Callisto on their team. They might as well start it. Force CLG to play to you. TP has been burned by Jenkins. He is on the other side in the top lane. They're going to be able to get a little bit of damage on his.
They know Jenkins is top. They can fight.
Banshees, they're looking for the pick. The flash away, but it was a nice keeper's verdict from Kevy to stop the fight.
Keeper's verdict actually saved the fight there for CLG. The fact that Jenkins went top and the fact that Zamudo and Winnie got knocked away means that 4v5 was null and void. Huge play from the jungler of CLG Academy. So really, honestly, I think this could have been just insane magical. But either way, we're still in a good position as AoE. We're getting to a point for CLG where they are going to do more damage overall once we get to the 3, maybe 4 item mark for a lot of people. But AoE are still in position. If they wombo just right, they can win it out. But they need to keep finding these picks and advantages they've been going so far. They cannot let off the gas pedal.
Okay, right there. A lot of damage traded back onto Kevy by Zamudo. 4 levels up. Still difficult for Zamudo to do too much because that Call of the Forge God is not off cooldown just yet. Once that is up, with CLG being this far out of their base, you know that AoE want to start off a fight, especially for Winnie. The retribution that he would get taking down CLG Academy, even if it's only 1 game. His former teammate of Meech, the team that stopped him in his track's last proving rounds. There is a lot of pride relying on this game.
That's right, and I mean, SkyTech, hold that thought.
Okay, Link
Nice
goes
stopwatch.
golden, and here's going to be cease and desist with the hostile takeover. Kevy is getting bounced around, and he should die.
Got him.
Lynx, that pick is there. Winnie is alive. They're looking for Meech, but Meech should be fine with Jenkins on the other side with the flank available for himself. They got to be careful with Winnie being as low
Jenkins
as he is.
again.
They don't want to have that much damage. Jenkins still is pretty healthy at this moment. Could turn to the fight, but with just the one pick on to Kevy, AOE will turn back.
And we talked about stopwatches for CLG. They came in clutch for AOE this time around, Magical. Both Winnie and Lynx being able to live out in very crucial moments. Again, get the team fights they want. Hold on to the lead. It's not enough to go for Baron because health is too far, but it's the consistency that AOE have been getting these fights on is what's so dangerous for CLG. They are not able to win out in a lot of these skirmishes, and the fact is, Jenkins more often than not is getting caught, separated from his team. If it's not him, it's Kevy. And the fact that AOE are able to keep doing this means that they're in a good position for the Dragon Soul. What is it, Alex? What is it? I need to know.
There are 2 Guardian's Angels now built.
That's
across
true.
the board.
That's
Meech and Lynx both having that, both 4 items. And we already talked about Kalista is more the early game, more the mid game. It's Meech's time to stand up. Meech's time to show why he was the one picked up and put in Academy.
That's true, and you look at the other side, Lynx is a player, actually also from University of Western Ontario with Winnie and formerly SkyTech, a player who I think this year has also shown some really good performances. Played for Taco last split, didn't seem as highlight, wasn't an AD carry we particularly wanted to highlight, but this split, him and SkyTech have been playing out of their minds. That's a huge ulti.
They're going to look for the Battlestar, did not connect. Weaver's wall to block them in. The damage onto Winnie, the flash away, but Jenkins takes him down with the hostile takeover coming through. They got enough damage. Zamudo, the next casualty.
Oh no!
Meech had turned this around with CLG. They find the picks. The dragon will be theirs and denying the soul to AOE.
And it's Kevy who starts that one off, knocking away. I looked like SkyTech, who was no longer part of this fight, and it's CLG who got the pick. CLG who win the 5v4 they so desperately looked for, and watch Kevy here, the keeper's verdict. Again, they end up, it's SkyTech. Because of the Bellows Breath, Zamudo wasn't knocked away, but still, this was no longer a fight that AOE were going to be favored in. You didn't get the hostile takeover in a position that you really wanted. It was easily avoided here, and it's just overall really well played by Kevy and CLG.
In fact, the hollowed mist made it so that it didn't hit anybody. And so not only do they get the dragon, but getting the Baron as well, the gold equated it between the 2 teams. This is where we look at CLG's composition. This is their time to shine. They are the late game team, and you saw how much damage Jenkins can do in these fights.
That's right, CLG. They basically scaled up. Now you see Jenkins at 3 items, Meech at 4. We're getting to 4 for triple, and he's got to stop watching the inventory still. Magical. CLG are as online as can be, and AOE really needed that Dragon Soul. And the fact that CLG equalized gold makes it that much tougher. You still... Listen, hear me out. You still have a good shot as AOE.
Okay.
The way they've been getting picks and team fighting this entire game, if they can keep that up, isolate people like Triple, Meech, whoever, and get them out of the fight, blow them up, it's still winnable. But it's harder. You have to worry about the keeper's verdict and the fact that Meech, Triple, Breezy, Jenkins do a buttload of damage now.
Right, and that's where things are going to be incredibly difficult for AOE. CLG understand that this is their point when they are powerful in the game. Having a Banshee's Veil onto Triple to make him more of a difficult target to actually pinpoint. Jenkins set up in side lanes with TP Ghosts available and nobody that can match a Gwen in the late game. Doesn't matter if she's been nerfed recently. She still does a ton of true damage in the sweet spot.
True. I will say, though, with that final Ornn upgrade coming through from Zamudo, AOE got a lot of gold's worth of stats here. So they are still in a decent position again.
Essentially in the
terms
lead.
Of being able to T-fight. Yeah, you could say that. Now, with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow there, you can look to fight this one out if you really want to. Jenkins isn't here. You have crucial seconds. That teleport would take the channel to do something. But AOE, they're not fighting yet. They aren't seeing this as the opportunity they want.
Still a little wary on how they can find these fights, especially because Banshee's Veil is still up and available for Triple. With Jenkins escorting minions mid lane, it gives enough time where AOE tried to peel back to deny that being taken, but it left bot lane completely surrendered.
Yeah, now we're at a point where this is going to be, it's now or never. You might let that inhibitor go, and I think you're okay with that as AOE. they're trying to limit their losses here, but with that inhibitor down, now you have to make a decision. Are you going to sack mid and bot, or are you going to do something about this inhibitor here?
Connects on to SkyTech. SkyTech's still alive. Zamudo is not a part of the fight, but they're going to be able to use the Fate's Call to keep SkyTech alive. But with the turret having fallen, now it's going to be an open inhibitor mid lane that CLG can play for.
A lot of ultimates.
AOE are feeling forced. They're looking for the play. They got the flash from Meech and also get the flash from Triple, while Jenkins is on the other side looking for the flank, and he can escort minions into the Nexus turret. Here comes the cease and desist onto Jenkins, bouncing him around, but he goes golden. He's buying
Nice
so
stopwatch.
much time for CLG, but he'll finally be burned down. The rest of CLG, they've gotten themselves the prize, which was that mid lane inhibitor turret the entire time. But AOE should be fine with just taking the 1 kill.
Yeah, it's tough though. You wanted a little more from that one there. It was nice to isolate Jenkins once again, but mid inhib, bot inhib, out of the picture. Now AOE, very dangerous position. When the next Baron comes up in a few minutes, they're going to have to make a choice. They're going to have to try and push these waves out as far as they possibly can in hopes that they will be able to actually contest these neutral objectives. That next dragon in a minute, especially magical, it is their soul, and it would be a big buff to an already starting to fizzle out AOE Esports, and that's what they need to be setting their sights towards here. You see it. The assist pings coming through. How important it is for AOE to be able to get this mid push, to at least let them get some vision, something in that bottom side.
Well, this game completely flipped on its head where it looked like it was going to be all AoEs, but one good fight from CLG has now put this game on a knife's edge, with a dragon about to spawn being that cloud dragon that could be the soul for AoE. I don't know if that's necessarily what you want to play around. You need to get these picks still, and there's going to be a TP coming in. They've noticed that Jenkins is trying to go into the top lane with the flash away from Breezy to survive. Kevy gets knocked up by the Call of the Forge God, but that is going to be a lot burn at the moment by both sides. No Call of the Forge God, no Keeper's Verdict. Here's going to be the Weaver's Wall. No, it's not even used just yet. They got to be careful because there's Jenkins on the other side. Winnie's looking to chase him down.
They want him.
Get in range for the cease and desist that is still open, but they couldn't get near. Enchanted Crystal Arrow will connect with the cleanse away from Young, but now Zamudo is on the flank. Still, no Call of the Forge God. Here's going to be the cease and desist into the back line, but he's blown
alone.
Up. He was all alone, and now they turn their attention on to Meech.
Wait, Meech is gone. That's big.
But no, he's not. He's got Guardian's Angel. He's alive and kicking. He'll come back up ready to fight, and they will take down Kevy, but can they take down Meech as well? Only Zamudo getting the shutdown, losing his life for it, while Jenkins chasing down Lynx, looking for the pick on Young, but it might be Lynx.
Wait, it's winnable.
Lynx. Winnable. There it is. They got the Ren, and they somehow turn it around. It is a 3-for-3 fight in total.
And this is just insane coming through here. Kevy using that Keeper's Verdict early on gave AOE a chance in that team fight when things really broke out. But now you see it. Young has to go. He has to protect the Nexus turrets, and it means that you don't actually have the chance.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Lynx, didn't want to go too far. Doesn't know where Triple is. Playing cautiously.
Teleport.
They are spotted out. There's going to be the CB coming in from Young. Ditching the minions, which means SkyTech now in the base trying to absorb them. But what is going to be the call? They're pinging onto that dragon, the soul.
They need
that's
it.
available for themselves, but Triple is still nearby. You got to be so cautious with how he's been playing and how he still has his stopwatch. There they go, starting it up at the moment. It should be risky, but look at that.
No, they got
the call. No. But look at the call on the other side. They're pinging on to the Baron. CLG Academy might just look to trade. They've got minions pouring into the base. They know where Zamudo has to be, and he does not have TP.
Yeah, this is a tough one. He has to push the next wave and do something here, and you can see it. They at least have the Scryer's Orb for AoE to be able to get the information. They know Meech just spawned and still has to walk his way over, so that's precious time. Zamudo gets to be able to push the wave a bit and back it off. AoE get the Cloud Soul. They get the out-of-combat movement speed from 3 Drake's Magical, and they get the 50% movement speed bonus when you use your ultimate. And the team fighting comp, whose ultimates are so crucial, that is a big boon for AoE. Still have to stress, CLG, really powerful position overall. AoE this entire game, the reason they've gotten this far is because they're playing their comp so very well. But the margin for Arrow is so slim, and they have to make the play again.
TP is up for Jenkins, but not for Zamudo. So Jenkins has to defend as best he can, getting at me a little bit of attention on the other side. He's just going for a solo fight against Jenkins, denying that TP in, and like you talked about, the Keeper's Verdict was burned for that. So now AoE, they deny the Baron, and they can even try to push more minions mid.
Honestly, that's great. You just stall for time. Your top wave is still pushed out far enough that there is no immediate threat to your inhibitor, and it gives Zamudo time to keep that bottom wave push. The inhibitor is respawn, and that means mid is coming up very shortly. Magical AoE, they've weathered the storm. They've gotten all the extra gold and XP that comes from these supers, and you could see it. The teleport immediately coming through. They know Zamudo doesn't have it.
No, and Zamudo couldn't stop either. He didn't have the call of the Forge God. This should be taken by CLG. What a call! Noticing that everyone had reset on AoE, so they sneak away their second Baron.
That's huge. You get that extra gold upfront for CLG's comp, which is big. You see stopwatches coming through from the remaining members. Means that this next team fight, I mean, we're 40 minutes in, Magical. This next fight will be our last as AOE Esports. We're at a point where, I mean, realistically, their comp isn't as strong in terms of damage output, but we've seen what this team has been able to do. Winnie, Skytech trying to make their way back into Academy with how well they've been playing all split long, and it continues here with trying to beat CLGA.
But Nathan, this is where things are just, I think, still on a knife's edge. It doesn't matter if CLG have that Baron. You have full builds for Lynx and Meech at this point. You're full build for Triple and nearly for Young as well. There are still a lot of power both teams will bring to these fights. And it's kind of like you said, if AoE can utilize that pick still, if they can find someone out of position, that is going to be immense for them to turn the tides immediately. While CLG, they're grouping up. They've got the late game scaling on their side, but they're still struggling to get back into the base of AoE.
Right, and now, because there are no super minions, the Baron will help them a little bit with this, but Magical, the big thing is that now we're 3 minutes to Elder. If a fight doesn't happen now, it's certainly going to happen there, and that is a game-ending buff. And now, though,
Battle
here we go.
Bob flash in with the hostile takeover.
See ya!
Picked off! They got him! Taking back the teammate of old! When he made sure that he was mincemeat, and now looking for Kevy as he's low. No Keeper's Verdict. Vault Breaker! Body blocked by the Steadfast Presence. They got a Sleepy Trouble bubble, not connected on anybody, but look at the base. That's been taken by Jenkins. The last ditch play. The back door has been opened up, and Jenkins might just be able to win the game as he looks to solo kill Zamudo underneath Nexus turret. Somehow, Jenkins showing up big in these fights. Should be, no, he doesn't get away either.
Nice flash, he baited him.
Somehow, this game is not over yet. Beat down with the inhibitor. Not even taking mid lane just yet. The crew of AoE trying to deny that. The inevitable should still be there with a cannon minion wailing away at that mid inhibitor. Barely does it not get it.
What an insane call from Jenkins to be able to get that top inhibitor. Now all three are exposed, and the middle one, you just gotta sneeze at it. Look at that HP, Magical. The most important thing now, everyone will be up when the Elder spawns. So this fight has not resulted in the end of game one, but man, we keep getting close to it. So much back and forth play here, and we're seeing it. Zamudo needs to be in these team fights. When he's not there, it is a little harder for them to play things out, and no one can individually do anything about Jenkins, except maybe Lynx if he kites well. But the problem is, you need Lynx with the team, Alex.
You gotta have Lynx with the team at all times. He can't be in a side lane trying to match up against Jenkins, and that's what CLG are using to their fullest. The fact that he doesn't have TP might stop them for now, especially with a minute coming up until that Elder will spawn. But CLG could even just hard commit. Say, Jenkins, backdoor. There's an open, you already got the inhibitor top lane. You might as well just try to end the game.
That's right. That is the big thing with Jenkins. Having teleport available, can easily teleport to that bottom wave that is pushed in so deep, but you have to take that risk as AoE. That's the problem. The fact is, Elder spawning 35 seconds. Zamudo can't do anything individually. You just got to burn this thing down. But Zamudo, he has teleport now, so he's going to stay in the area. Jenkins, no CC, means he can't actually stop anything happening. He can't stop Zamudo's teleport.
No, but he can do a lot of damage to him on the way out. We already saw that Jenkins has got to that point where he is able to 1v1 Zamudo, both level 18. And it doesn't matter if you took down the true damage dealt by Snip from the sweet spot down to 50%. That is still going to be a lot of damage unleashed by Jenkins on top of Ornn. Right there, You could tell AOE, the pressure is on. Winnie, having lost to this exact team last year, last split, would love to be able to take this game 1, but Jenkins is looking to open up the game wall. It is the Elder Dragon that is started up by Lynx and Skytech, but they gotta peel. They gotta be so careful because they know Jenkins has TP, and so does the Mudo. With the Weaver's wall coming in, cuts off the retreat of Skytech. He's locked in the pit, will jump over the wall to survive, but it's just the dance that continues. Looking for the damage onto Debbie. It's just a little bit, but that enchanted crystal arrow,
they got him.
Could be the game. They've got Young shut down by Meech with the TP coming in. Elder Dragon should be secured by CLG Academy unless a hope, miracle, and prayer can come in for AOE. It's off the back of Zamudo's TP behind.
He's going for it.
God, and Winnie diving in on top of Winnie, looking for the
That's
shutdown.
one.
Oh,
Lynx is healthy. Lynx is healthy.
He's still alive, but they can take him down.
That's a double.
Kill for Lynx. They still got the fight remaining inside of them. And Zamudo is pretty damn tanky.
Another arrow.
Another arrow lands. And it's again an even fight. 2 for 2 at the moment with more health on the side of CLG. Fighting against, forcing away
Jenkins
AOE,
pops Ghost.
knowing that they have that advantage. The Ghost, like you said, it was pop. But look at the base.
Look at top lane.
There are
Yeah,
super
look at the
minions
base.
pouring into the base. Onto
They have
the
to
next
ignore
turret.
them.
So they have to if they want to get this away. But AOE are still here. Low health bars. One Nexus turret has fallen. That is down
Young is about to spawn.
Health. Winnie about to get his battery back up. And like you said, the fact that they're about to get Young back up. There's the TP coming in behind. They turn their
Oh
attention
no,
to
he's stunned out. Winnie's gone.
Winnie's gone. And now it's Young's turn. Kenny finds the snipe, missing the paddle star, getting the sleeping trouble bubble, but they've lost Skytech. Lynx, he's alive. No, he's not. He's gonna die upon respawning. Or can he turn it around? He cannot. CLG crush the hopes of Winnie and AOE.
We talked about it. The enchanted crystal arrow is such a big problem for AOE's composition, and twice in this fight was Breezy able to get 2 huge pickups. Former amateur player, now Academy for CLGA, says you guys aren't ready to take a game off us yet.
The fact that this game looked like it was going to be AOE's for quite some time and now is getting close to the end for AOE. We are 46 minutes into the game. The Nexus is open. It's only Zamudo to defend it, and he cannot, giving up his life in order to defend.
He's still alive.
An ace is picked up by Meech as well. 12-5 against his former organization.
46-minute banger to start us off, Magical. Insane from both of these teams. And I mean, at the end of the day, we do got to credit AOE for how well they team fought the entire time. But at the end of the day, Breezy, with those arrows, came in so very clutch. And I think Jenkins' ability to split push and be such a big problem inside was also something CLGA took advantage of very well. And that's just game 1.
I know. And the thing is, though, when you have a game 1 that's this close, especially when you have the history that is behind both these organizations, the fact they faced off against one another, sure, only some of the members remain from that time, but Winnie being one of these players that we've hyper-focused on for AOE, being the main player from that last series, playing up against a former teammate in Meech, and then 2 of the team members that beat him last time around. There's so much pressure, and dropping game 1 after 47 minutes in has got to be devastating, but we'll see if they can bounce back. We're going to toss to a break. When we come back, we'll bring back Kangas, hopefully, to have our halftime show. Make sure you stay tuned.
I would describe AOE Esports as an organization that's really focused on player development between the amateur to professional scene. And that's like goes throughout our whole organization with our coaches, with our staff. We want to develop everyone to taking that amateur to professional step, whether, that's through our organization or if we grow to that level eventually. Well, hey, we'd love to be one of those franchises if anyone drops one day. But right now, we're like our long-term goal is to be, that path to a lot of teams to getting into players specifically getting into the LCS or academy scene. I think that's something that we've refined a little bit. Our philosophy and thought on teams has been more high end over the last split or year. So we had 4 proving ground teams this year, which, we still are keeping that methodology of having a lot of teams, but it allows us to have a lot of players developing, have a lot of the community participating in our community. Because there's a lot of good talent in NA that I think that's a little bit overlooked. Yeah. Amateur Arena was a program that we did last year because we have the long off season where we had high elo players playing 5v5 versus each other with a coach and casters, kind of allowing us to continue on our addiction to NA Proving Grounds or Academy League of Legends. It's not financially viable for players to do this as their full-time job in the tier 2 scene. Most of the players that are doing this are going to scholarship full-time at school while also playing on a Proving Grounds team at the same time or working a full-time job. I think that other regions, some of their academy teams and even their developmental teams are a little bit more supportive of the amateur scene that they have. I think it speaks to the strength of both like our player rosters and the work that they put in. They're very balanced, very competitive rosters that play, in GDC's case, a unique style, or in our main roster's case, like an aggressive style based around certain players. And I think they've put a lot of practice into that, and they're not just implementing what the meta currently is, they're implementing what's good for them as a roster. And I think that's a lot of what has led them to be successful, both in the qualifier and on the Proving Ground stage. But a lot of our players, they spend a lot of time, hours after scrims, talking about the game, draft, items, runes, new stuff they find out, where they can get innovative picks from, and then actually putting practice into those in scrim time. Yeah, I just want to shout out my staff, my general manager, Kobe, who really had a lot to do with coming into those. And then Argentum, Nutty, and Kenshin, and Lear, my coaches for the 2 PG rosters that are still in it. They've been, we have managers and more support staff that helped out, but those guys have really been stepping up this year.